welcome everybody. I appreciate everybody coming out to celebrate my dad. If you knew him, it was either Joe or Jody or maybe some other bad name you might have called him. He was born in Cody, Wyoming, April 2nd, 1951, and he passed at his home in Alta in California, November 1st, 2022. If you knew him, he always played to the crowd, and he could be whatever he needed to be to fit in and have a good time. And he knew a lot of different people. He was always very smart and intuitive, but also just as stubborn. Me having known him my whole life, not his whole life, but my whole life, him and I've had several different relationships over the years, and if you knew him, he was just a big kid. But at different times he was my father, at different times he was my buddy, and recently the roles kind of flipped, and I had to care for him, which was not fun. He loved nature, his friends, animals. He had really had a soft, kind heart inside. He was not a fighter. He was a lover and a poet, even though he wouldn't always necessarily let that show through. He was Mr. Good Time. There's no denying that, and even to his own detriment. He always wanted to have fun and live in the moment, never thinking about tomorrow, always thinking for right now. What's gonna have a good time? What can he do to be the life of the party? And you know, he lived his way. You know, something to be said for living your way. He never relented on that. He lived his way. He was going to live his way no matter what, right to the very end, which I'm excited he actually got to do it just that way. He was the kind of guy who'd give the shirt off his back. You know, we all knew that shirt would have a bunch of stains and a hole in it, but if he had it, he would give it. He was just that kind of guy. And anytime you ever really needed something, if you really needed it, he actually did always come through for me, and at different times, whether it was helping fix my car or, you know, believe it or not, I think I've never asked the guy for money, but he would leave stuff behind when I was in some not so good times myself. He would leave it behind and do little things like that where he wouldn't say it and he'd act like he didn't do it. That's just kind of what he was. So when just to tell a couple stories about the times that I shared with him, I think I was 12 years old, and he used to always drag me out on opening day trout season, and I don't know where he had me going, some special place he was going to go. We were going to go get these, you know, do some great fishing. I don't even think we actually got any fishing in that year. We got stuck in the snow because we left after work, and I had to figure out how to drive a stick for the first time because, you know, I was too little to push and he could push. So, you know, of course I'd spit the snow all over him, and then as soon as we got moving, I let up too early and had to do it all again so he was pretty mad. But he that was kind of a fun trip because he said he didn't have to teach me how to drive. That was it. That was the one lesson done. Drove a stick from there, no big deal. So that was a lot of fun, and I know he tried to teach Chad how to drive a stick too, and that didn't quite go as well. And I remember when I was 16, this is just an absolute characterization of who he was. When I was 16 years old, and we all used to go out to Camp Far West, and you know, there's the big Keystone Cliffs that everybody would jump off. And of course, some of the guys I went to school with, they were scared of those cliffs and they wouldn't jump off it, and they were standing up there scared. And of course, he was there, so he, you know, excuse my French, called him a bunch of P words as he dove off.
Yeah, Dad was
the
not
top.
afraid.
Dove off the highest cliff straight in and came up and told them all they were a bunch of wussies, let's just say. That was him to a T. So when I had my kids and he became Papa Joe, he would show up and he always had a trinket. He found him a necklace or bracelet or something that he had made and some candy. He'd always try to give the girls a few bucks here or there when we weren't looking. And he really wanted to take the girls fishing. And I don't think he quite realized that they weren't boys since he had raised a boy. And so we tried to take him out fishing, and if I remember right, Alyssa, little ADHD, couldn't sit still, running around. Tara was wearing softball jersey and I think a skirt and a tutu or something, and he just couldn't quite get those girls to sit down. And of course, Casey just wanted to rip the worms in half because that's what she did. So he was a little perplexed why the girls wouldn't just go fish. But I guess that just happens. So I will say that for all things he was, when I was in some tough times in my life, relationship-wise, financially, he was there. You know, I had moved out, a little personal spot for Paula and I couldn't afford to pay her bills and mine. And he called me and said he wanted to rent a room from me. And he sent me a $500 check 4 months in a row for renting a room from me. He never even saw my apartment. So just the kind of thing that he would do. So, and he takes all the credit for us getting back together, she told me, because he said he counseled me and her, and that our getting back together was because of him. So he says. So the scariest thing I've ever done with the guy is he wanted to buy my Harley Davidson, and he had never rode a bike as big as a Harley. He always had little Yamahas and stuff. So he comes over, says, "I'm ready to buy that bike. Let's go for a ride." And I thought, boy, I don't know. And I said, well, let's get on in the road and we'll see. And he's like, no, I'm good to go. I've rode bikes my whole life. So I get him on the bike and we go ride around the block, and he almost dropped it 3 times. And we got back and he just goes, "Oof, that bike is way too big for me, man. There is no way." But he goes, "I always wanted to ride a Harley, and now I did." So he goes, "I really appreciate that." I go, "I really appreciate you not dropping it," because it almost went down. So earlier this year, you know, he got in some health challenges, came spend some time with us at the house, and I know Paula went and saw him a couple times a week at the hospital when I was working out of town. And you know, Aunt Margaret always made sure he had his sugar-free licorice, which he was hoarding, which he hoarded other things. He stole our snacks and hid them in his bed. And he was a real pain. And he just kept saying, I don't want to go out like this. Just roll me in the woods. Let me be out in the open air. Let me go home, and I'll find my way out of this life. And you know what? That's what he did. He got to go home. Linda took him in and put him back where he was comfortable, which I know we were all excited about. And he got to go out his way, which is what he really wanted. He never could be confined to the lines, so why would it be at the end that he would live that way? So I was really glad that he got to do that. And he passed in his sleep peacefully, which is all we can ever ask for in life. And he did it his way. And the day before, it's funny, it's kind of funny the timing that he always had, but we did get to see him at the funeral home, all of myself and Linda, and he had trimmed up his beard the night before. So full trimmed up, all put together. He looked about as good as I had seen him in a lot of years, laying there on the table. And I thought, how fitting is that? That it's like he knew, right? He got spiffed up before he left. So with that being said, he lived his way, and that's all we could ever ask for, is to go out the way that he came in, and that's what he did. So I know that some of you had some things to say, so I'll open it up. I don't know, Margaret, you want to say some things right now?
Well, I do. He was my baby brother, and I always would tease him. He was my mother's favorite. He was born with hearing loss and had some other difficulties as a young child, had to have cysts removed from his legs, and he just seemed to never be able to take 3 steps forward. It was always maybe 1 or 2 and then 3 back, and that seemed to be the course of his life. I was looking through some pictures that I gave Nick of his young childhood with me as his sister, and in all of them, he's right up against me, which I hadn't remembered, looking down like he was kind of embarrassed, but I know that had to do with his hearing loss. But I was always there, and then the realization hit me, you were his protector from the beginning to the end. Did we have our differences? Absolutely. Would he do anything for me? Absolutely. I loved him dearly. I will always love him. I will miss the not so frequent texts that I would get that were way off the wall and really deep thinking, and I would text him right, are you okay? Is everything okay? What's going on? Oh, I'm fine. I just was reading this, or I was thinking about this, and nothing related to really what was going on in his life at all. And I'm thankful that he is at last resting in peace. And I know my mom was so glad to see him. So that's about all. I have a little thing I want to read when everybody is finished. It's my way of just saying goodbye, because I know we need to move forward with everything. So thank you so much for coming, everyone. Gracias por todos que ya vinieron.
Thank you, Auntie. Yeah, I'd like to say that Dad is the one who taught me how to be a man. He taught us both what a man was, be courteous, be kind to others. You know, remember we used to go camping, and we went and stopped at every other place that was empty and picked up the trash there. He was like, when you go someplace, they don't know you're there. So we pick up other people's trash. And he loved animals, and he was a bit of a hard ass, let's be honest. But his intentions were good, and he was a good man, and I'm thankful that I was raised by him. Yeah.
Jesse, you wanna?
My name is Jesse Wellman. I'm Jody's nephew. My mother is his oldest sister. She's not well in Alturas, California, and has asked me to say a prayer for him. O my God, verily thy servant, humble before the majesty of thy divine supremacy, lowly at the door of thy oneness, hath believed in thee and in thy verses, hath testified to thy word, hath been enkindled with the fire of thy love, hath been immersed in the depths of the ocean of thy knowledge, hath been attracted by the breezes, hath relied upon thee, and hath turned thy face to thee, hath offered his supplication to thee, and hath been assured of thy pardon and forgiveness. He hath abandoned this mortal life, and hath flown to the kingdom of immortality, yearning for the favor of meeting thee. O Lord, glorify his station, shelter him under the pavilion of thy supreme mercy. Cause him to enter thy glorious paradise, and perpetuate his existence in thine exalted rose garden, that he may plunge into the sea of light in the world of mysteries. Verily thou art the generous, the powerful, the forgiver, the bestower. And I will share one memory that fits with all the others. He had a Toyota Land Cruiser that he really enjoyed. And we went driving out by Folsom along the side of the bank, and he goes, is this steep enough? Is this steep enough? Is this steep enough? And I'm going, are we rolling yet?
service for your loved one. No one will ever be forgotten for the continued memories of you and your family. Keep him in your heart and always cherish the service he provided for all of us to live comfortably and enjoy our beautiful country. Please accept my sincere condolences. God, grant to the living grace, to the departed rest, to the nation peace, peace and comfort, to us and for all your servants, promise of everlasting life, the light to guide us on our way, courage to support us, and your blessing to unite us in the service of to unite us in service to you, our God, and our country. Amen. Michelle. Working to bring her up.
They're going to do that presentation. But he said,
Detail. Attend. Port. Ready. Aim. Fire. Aim. Fire. Aim. Fire. Port. Present. Order.
My journey's just begun. Don't think of me as gone away. My journey's just begun. Life holds so many facets. This earth is but one. Just think of me as resting from the sorrows and the tears in a place of warmth and comfort where there are no days or years. Think of how I must be wishing that you could know today how nothing but your sadness can really go away. And think of me as living in the hearts of those I touched. For nothing loved is ever lost. And I know I was loved so much. Rest in peace, Joseph. Thank you.
yeah, that's That's pretty much it.
That's it.
Services are over. Thank you so much for all coming. Gracias a todos que ya vinieron con nosotros. Este día tan difícil. Que Dios te bendiga a todos. God bless all of you for coming.